Today, we are covering all of the cozy games that just haven't had enough love on this channel. Last week, I asked all of you to send me in your ultimate favorite cozy game, and I went through the hundreds of comments and found a big bunch of games that I don't think I've spoken about at all. Now, I have already made a video pretty recently on my personal top picks for best cozy games on the Nintendo Switch, so if your favorite games are missing from this list, it's probably because I already included them in that video. But without further ado, here's the best cozy games on the Nintendo Switch, according to you guys. First up, I want to talk about Wildflowers. Yeah, we're kind of cheating with this one, but hear me out. The reason why I'm mentioning Wildflowers today is that they've had a free update as of December 23rd. A literal Christmas present for us cozy gamers. Now, for those who don't know Wildflowers, it's a game where you play as Tara, who moves to a rural island to help her grandma out on her farm. But don't be fooled by the start of this story, for this is no normal farming sim. By day, you are a mere farmer, but by night, you learn how to become a witch. You can fly, brew potions, and it's made all the better by the wonderful voice acting. But don't worry, if you're looking for the classic farming sim mechanics, they're still there. You can cultivate crops, explore the town, and also become friends with its people. And of course, there's also romance. And if buying it on the Switch worries you, this game runs incredibly well. I actually couldn't figure out why something felt weird about the game, and then I realized that when you run in and out of houses, there's no loading time, and that really weirded me out. And don't worry, the update for the game brings even more. Once you've done the main story, you'll be able to control the weather, and there will also be an extended story to go through as well. Although they've been a little bit cryptic about the whole thing, it also looks like you'll be able to do more with your partner after the update as well. Next is a game you've been crying out to be covered on the channel, and that's A Short Hike. This is the perfect game for those of you on a budget, and sees you hike, climb, and fly through the mountains. And it's up to you to decide if you're going to follow the path or just take the scenic route as you head to the summit. And this is a cozy gamer's staple, as there is no time limit and no rush. So you can truly explore until your heart's content, with plenty of hidden treasures for you to uncover and other hikers to talk to and help out on your way. Next is a game that's wholesome, but also a little bit creepy, but I kind of love that about it. This is Oxen Free. This is the perfect time to mention this game, as right around the corner in 2023, we'll be getting Oxen Free 2. This is a cozy game that's a little bit on the creepy side, and fun fact, this is one of the first games I ever played when I stepped into the world of gaming by myself. Oxen Free is described as a supernatural thriller. I wouldn't personally go as far as to say it's scary per se. It's definitely creepy though. And it's all about a friend group who unwittingly opened up a ghost rift. The story sees you play as Alex, who brings her new stepbrother Jonas to a party on an old military island. Who would do that and not expect it to be creepy? Anyway, and as you can expect when you hold a party on an old military island, it takes a turn for the worst, as they accidentally open up a ghost gate. In Oxen Free, you are in control of the story, where you uncover the base's dark secrets and try to just keep your friends alive. Your choices in dialogue options changes the story and your relationship with each of the other characters. And as you play, you see the mysteries of the island be unraveled. The art style and the voice acting are superb. And it's definitely one of those games that even though I haven't played the game in years, the whole experience is still stuck by me. So if you like being taken on a wild ride of a story and be slightly creeped out at times, it's the perfect game for you. The next game, I think I spoke about it a while ago, but not a lot recently, and that's Littlewood. In this game, you've defeated the Dark Wizard, kept the world of Solemn safe and at peace. Or at least that's what you've been told you did. See, the thing is, you don't actually remember any of it really. All you know is that you're in a town that's an absolute mess and its people needs your help to build it back up again. And this game literally ticks all of the life sim boxes. There's so much to explore in this world, with huge forests and caves to investigate. You can harvest materials like wood and ores, you can farm, you can fish, you can catch bugs, gather materials, cook, and even craft. And of course, you'll need to sell things to make money, all the while doing whatever you can to build the town back up. The townsfolk of the town will also have quests for you, with each one you complete unlocking new relationship options. And it's many people's go-to as it's just such a wholesome game. I definitely recommend it. Next up is Yonder. I am genuinely shocked at how long this game flew under my radar for, as it's absolutely stunning. Yonder is set in a world called Gamea, a natural paradise with 8 distinct areas to go and explore. But despite its stunning tropical beaches, snowy summits, the island is not as tranquil as it looks. It's your job to seek out these whimsical creatures called sprites, and to use their power to clear what is known as the murk, which has gradually been polluting the island. The best part of this wholesome game is that there's no combat whatsoever. Yonder is centered around exploring the beautiful landscape, all the while crafting items to solve puzzles, befriending and adopting creatures, and you can fill your days doing whatever you fancy. There's quests that you can carry out, you can fish, you can farm, you can craft, and if you're after a chill adventure with a beautiful world to explore without any worries, this is perfect. I'm slightly cheating with the next game as I have mentioned it before, but it deserves another shout out, and that's Donut County. This is cozy in a completely different way to any of the games I've already mentioned, where you control a hole that grows with the more items it engulfs. Okay, admittedly, that doesn't sound cozy the way I put it, but trust me, it is. But the part that really gets me to love this game is the puzzles they make around you being a hole. Is incredible. Not only can you solve puzzles by sucking things in, you can also combine objects inside for crazy effects like breeding bunnies, cooking soup, or even launching fireworks. And you can also catapult things out of the hole as well. You can do this to either solve a puzzle or just cause chaos, whichever you fancy. And to me, there's honestly nothing more satisfying than watching an item slowly fall into the hole and being able to gradually get larger and larger items as you solve more puzzles. Next up is Islanders. Have you ever looked at City Skylines and thought to yourself that you really want to play it, but you can't be bothered to deal with all the complicated mechanics and the stress that is resource management? I was in so much debt, I had fires constantly. Half the kids couldn't go to a school, and my whole entire city was just one giant traffic jam. If that was your experience with City Skylines, then let me introduce you to this wonderful chill game. Islanders takes huge inspiration from games like The Bad North and SimCity, and it's a minimalistic strategy game all about building cities on stunning islands that begin as just a small village. And it's literally the perfect game if you want minimal stress. Each island is procedurally generated, so you don't even have to worry about the game ending, as there will always be more islands that can be tackled. Much like Doth Romantic, if you're a competitive type gamer, then there's also a scoring system, so you can challenge yourself to beat your last score. Again, I'm shocked I never mentioned that game. It's right up my alley, and I've been having a great time with it. Another game that I should have mentioned ages ago, but I somehow missed, is Wytchwood. This is a wholesome game in a kind of different way. It's a crafting adventure game with the most beautiful fairy tale gothic setting I've ever seen. I never thought those two should mix, but this definitely proved me wrong. And I'm such a fan of its entire aesthetic. You play as a mysterious old witch of the woods who spends their day collecting magical ingredients, brewing potions, and doing what old people do best: judging people. Only as you're a witch, instead of just complaining about the people to your grandchildren, you can just turn those who you judge into toads instead. The story is largely based around fetch quests, which I think get a bad rap. It's when I'm lying in bed late at night, I love the simplicity of quests where you just need to go out and find things. Most of the items you need to find can be foraged, so this game definitely benefits those who like to hoard. The beginning of the story is set around a goat trashing your house, only to find out that you've actually made a contract with the goat before, only you can't exactly remember why. And each of the people you help throughout the whole game fit the fairy tale theme to a T. So if you're looking for something a little bit different in your cozy repertoire, it's perfect. Next is Cat Quest 2. Have you ever wanted to play an RPG as a literal cat? Well, if you have, this is the game for you. as you're put in a fantasy land where cats and dogs are at war. The story follows two kings that are brought together against their will to reclaim their thrones, as you play as both a cat and a dog to take on the adventures. You can either play as a single player and switch between the two characters, or play in co-op in this open world action RPG. And although there is combat in the game, it's so cute I can barely count it. There's plenty of different weapon types to keep you occupied, along with more spells than ever before. And as you go, your character also develops different abilities which you can mix and combine for endless possibilities. The story will see you going through plenty of dungeons, filled with plenty of traps and obstacles to keep the game fresh and to give you plenty to do. Next is a game I actually discovered on Apple Arcade first, and it is so incredibly wholesome, and that's Alba. I love seeing Apple Arcade games being ported to the Switch, as they tend to be really well done, and also some of the most cozy games to have ever hit the Switch were originally on Apple Arcade. The game sees you play as Alba as she visits her grandparents on a Mediterranean island as she gears up for a summer of wildlife exploration. But that's soon brought to a halt when you find an animal in trouble, and Alba realizes she needs to do something to fix it. With a whole island to explore, you set off to not only see it, but also try and save it. And although you're only a child, throughout your journey, you document all the animals you see and try and convince people to join your cause to save the beautiful island that you've been exploring. This is the literal definition of a feel-good game, and you can take it all at your own pace, with a beautiful story and soundtrack to accompany you. I also technically think this counts as touching grass, so definitely a game I recommend. Next up is The Last Campfire. I wanted to mention this game even though I've mentioned it before, as not only is it fantastic, you can often find it on sale for such a low price. I think last time it was on sale for less than £3. This is a story-focused puzzle adventure game that tells the story of a lost ember trying to find their way out. Throughout the journey, you come across these things called the Forlorn. These are embers who have lost their hope. But by completing puzzles, hearing them out on their anxieties, you can bring them back. And this is kind of in a dungeon-like style that kind of feels reminiscent of the OG dungeons in Zelda. To make it through each dungeon, you will need to find each and every one of the Forlorn. And as you progress, you can unlock new items, which can help you complete different puzzles and give the puzzle games themselves a great range and variety. To make this even better, the game itself is narrated, making this more of an experience than anything else. There's no combat or quick time events, which means you can take everything at your own pace. And to spice things up a little bit more, we have another different take on a cozy game. This is Forgotton Anne. Okay, this is really difficult to talk about as a game, as the storyline is the main draw to it. So if I'm being vague, that's on purpose to not spoil a thing. This is a cinematic adventure with a focus on storytelling and a bit of light platforming. It takes place in a place called the Forgotten Lands, a magical world inhabited by Forgotlings. These are creatures made of mislaid objects, longing for the day that they are remembered again. You play as Anne as she tries her best to quell a rebellion forming that would prevent her and her master from returning to the human world. But in doing this, you uncover the truth behind the rebellion, and your words and actions ultimately control the game, as your decisions matter. The art style, storytelling, and visuals are very Studio Ghibli-esque, and it's honestly the perfect vibe, even if the story is maybe a little bit heavier than a classic cozy game. Another game with a perfect art style is Wylde at heart. The whole aesthetic of this game is my jam. The animation, the gameplay, it's literally perfect. You're in charge of a growing herd of quirky little creatures. I'd say this game is kind of a similar vibe to Pikmin, where you follow the story of two young runaways as they unravel the mystery of the Lost Realm in this storybook fantasy. Throughout this game, you'll battle beasts, solve puzzles, and this just seems like a little bit less stressful a game than Pikmin was, as it seems like they're easier to handle and you're less likely to lose them. You can use your little creatures to break stuff, build paths, get things for you, and ultimately also fight enemies. There is so much to do and explore of this beautiful world. It's not only filled with treasures, but also full of the story you must uncover. Not only is this game beautifully unique, it's also been nominated for a number of different gaming awards, which means it's definitely a game you'll want to check out. Next is Mini Motorways, and this, along with Dragon Quest Treasures, was the game I played the most during the holidays. And that's basically just because it's so easy to sit down and play for either 2 minutes or 2 hours. This is by the makers of Mini Metro, so you might already be familiar with the style. And you basically draw the roads in an ever-growing city. It starts off pretty simple, with each coloured house having cars that need to get to the corresponding coloured building. But as the town grows, so do the number of cars on the road, making dealing with traffic even harder. It does, however, give you tools to help with the traffic. You get given things like traffic lights, roundabouts, and also motorways to link areas of the map together. Mini Motorways has a number of different maps to try out, each of which bring in their own challenges. Like, for example, one map you play is absolutely massive, meaning that you're constantly trying to find solutions to minimize the number of road tiles you use, as in each in-game week you only get a certain amount of tiles. Other maps have more water, meaning that you have to keep an eye on the number of bridges you use, and the game ends when the cars take too long to get to work each day. But even when you fail, there is an endless mode that lets you carry on. And if you want to make the game harder, you can have a go at the challenge modes. These further limit you in what tiles and actions you can do, but are a lot of fun. And finally, the game that you're probably all surprised I've literally never spoken about before, and that's Calico. This has to be the most wholesome game to have ever existed. Your job is to rebuild the town's cafe and fill it to the brim with cute and cuddly creatures. You're in charge of absolutely everything. You pick out the decorations, you fill it with furniture that just looks so cute and wholesome, and you also make it a home for so many cute creatures. And don't worry, not only can you pet the creatures, you can carry them on your head if you want to. You can also play with them, and once you're friends with them, you can name them too. Eventually, if you want to add them to your party, they will follow you everywhere you go as well. If all of that isn't enough, not only can you play mini games, but there's also things like spells to just let you do whatever you want. This is the definition of a wholesome game and is guaranteed to put a smile on your face when you're feeling down. Let me know if I included any of your favorite games in this list, and if I'm missing any of the games, there's a good chance it's in this list here, where I talk about my ultimate favorite cozy games. I'll see you next time. Bye.